Hey everyone, welcome back to this episode of Private Club Radio, the industry source for conversations, news, trends, and updates. I'm your host, Denny Corby. As always, it's a pleasure. Thank you for being here. Thank you to all of our listeners. In this episode, I chat with Diana DeLucia. You might know her from Golf Kitchen. And in this episode, we focus on culinary experiences at golf clubs around the world. She shares with us the idea for Golf Kitchen, how it originated, and how it's progressed over the years. We talk about some of her future projects with Golf Kitchen, including a new book series, and we touch on something interesting she's planning for the future, which is a sort of international stage program which aims to facilitate reciprocal chef exchanges between clubs, which is actually pretty cool and interesting. Also because, one of the things we talk about is addressing the challenges of staffing in the golf industry and how the need for more culinary talent is becoming more and more important. So right before we get to the show, a word from some of our show partners. It's 2024 and it's time to change the way you vet your new members. Some traditions are worth modifying. The new member process hasn't changed really in the past 150 years, relying almost solely on social relationships and casual interactions, but lacking in factual data. And this is where Kennis comes in, because the traditional application process tells you very little about someone's behaviors and character until now. Kennis has created an innovative and confidential, comprehensive applicant information gathering process that provides an unraveled depth of information. The world of member vetting has evolved to a new standard, and Kennis is your turnkey solution to meet this new industry best practice. You can rely on Kennis to provide the facts that you need to make fully educated member decisions, because what you don't know can hurt your club and your members. To learn a little bit more or to set up a call, head on over to membervetting.com, fill out the form. You're going to have a chat with Paul Dank. It's going to be good. He's a great guy. Also, be sure to check out our episodes of Member Vetting here on Private Club Radio. Concert Golf Partners is changing the game one club at a time. Since their inception in 2001, they've been on a mission to preserve and elevate private clubs, pouring capital into enhancements that matter. But what sets them apart? These aren't your run-of-the-mill operators. They are a dedicated team with a passion for enhancing the private club experience both on and off the green. It's their commitment to maintaining the club's unique identity while executing strategic improvements that boost the overall experience and financial health. With Concert Golf Partners, your club gains access to a network of enhanced properties, reciprocal play privileges, and a future free from the burden of debt and outdated facilities. They're not just building better clubs, they're crafting lasting legacies for members and communities alike. If you'd like to learn more about Concert Golf Partners or recapitalization or learning how your members will have no more assessments, head on over to concertgolfpartners.com, set up a confidential call with Peter Danula, and that's it. Simple as that. Also, be sure to check out our episodes of Board Chats here on Private Club Radio, brought to you by our friends, you guessed it, Concert Golf Partners. And now, please welcome to the show, Diana DeLucia. And where did Golf Kitchen come from?
I used to have a publication in New York City called New York Restaurant Insider that I was part owner of. And I'm a photographer by trade. So I was working with all the famous chefs back in the day. This was in the 2000s. And when the recession hit, we closed that magazine. And then I started writing a book about chefs in golf. And that was in 2010. And the idea came from back then when blogging came in and everybody was writing about the same stuff. Everyone was writing about the same exact things. And I was getting bored of New York stuff in New York because everyone was doing everything the same. So I was thinking about where can I still work with chefs and food and cuisine that is not getting highlighted at this particular time. And that's how I found the golf industry, because back then in 2010, nobody was writing about golf chefs. Maybe Club and Resort, because they were just beginning at that point in time. So except they're all encompassing. They're all clubs, and I'm just focused on golf. So I did that first book. I started at Sabonic Golf Club in Southampton, and then I went to 12 properties around the world, and that book published in 2013 and sold out.
Nice.
So then I had proof of concept. So then I started I was writing for a publication called Destination Golf China.
Okay.
And they're kind of all over the world, Destination Golf magazine. But I know some people from that magazine. So I started this Chinese column and we called it Golf Kitchen, but in Chinese. And it was translated always into Cantonese or Mandarin or whatever the language was. And it was really cool. And that went till the new government took over in 2015 of China. And then everyone had to clear out of China. And they had to close the magazine. They knocked down all these golf courses, and it was all the Americans and all the expats had to clear out of China, and they still haven't gone back. And then that's when I started writing the book Golf Kitchen, which is a huge book. It's 568 pages, 7
Wow.
pounds,
it's like a newborn baby. This is
like it's really big and heavy. And that launched at Wingfoot. And I went all around. Originally I went to 18 clubs and 16 ended up in the project. And then we had these book launches at Wingfoot and Kasik at Kiowa. And then the magazine idea came up, which I kind of didn't want to do the magazine, but I gave it a try, and now it's in its 6th year, and it's doing pretty well now. Got through the pandemic, which was really hard, and now I'm on the other side of that. So now my focus is developing the magazine further and growing the subscriber base internationally.
With your, when you're working with all of these clubs and chefs, what's your process for selecting your clubs and your chefs?
I try to stick to the top 20% of clubs to try to keep the quality as high as possible. And I usually do a lot of research on a chef and a club before I even call them or contact them. And generally, I know so many club chefs now, I can get referrals from other club chefs. But there's a lot of changes happening in the industry right now that I'm thinking and considering. I want to do more international properties because I think it will be more beneficial for chefs in the US to see what chefs are doing overseas. It's kind of like the chef from Aspetuck Valley Country Club, who's in the current magazine. His name's Gerard Clinton. I was talking to him about how restaurant chefs do stages at places all over the world, and that's how they get better. And he said, I do that every year normally. And I said, well, I know this property in Portugal. I'm pretty sure they'd love to host you. And he just got back yesterday. It's the Oitavus Dunes. And they hosted him the whole time for the whole week, took him all over the place. He cooked in the kitchen, loved it. So that was really successful. Cool. And I think there needs to be more of these reciprocal, club chefs going to work in other clubs overseas and internationally. And it's something I've been wanting to work on for a really long time.
And I can see how that could be such a great, fun program, I think, for clubs and for their members to look forward to, having like a guest chef for a week or a day or a weekend or something. That could be so much fun.
Yeah. The reason I met Aspetuck Valley in the first place is because I had done a story with Stephen Yen at Liberty National, and he then a week later introduced me to Aspetuck Valley in Connecticut, and I had never heard of the place, nor did I expect it to be as high quality as it is. And then when I went there as a guest, I was blown away. The property's gorgeous. The kitchen's beautiful. They even have their own logo for the kitchen. I've never seen that
Really?
anywhere in the whole planet on golf clubs I've been to where they actually branded their kitchen. I thought that was super cool.
Tell me more about that. That's cool.
It is cool.
So what do you mean so the kitchen has a logo? Was there
Yeah.
anything else that they do, like are all the utensils like logoed and stuff too, like in the
All their
back?
uniforms are all logoed up, Aspetuck Kitchen, Aspetuck Valley. So it's a AK kitchen, and it's on
Oh, that's
all their
cool.
uniforms. Like everybody's got the logo, which I thought that was like so appreciative of a membership to do that.
A club within a club.
Yeah,
I like that. The club's
it's really
club.
cool.
Club
Yeah, the
kitchen's club.
logo's in the current magazine as well. I was
Oh,
like
that's cool.
blown away by that. I'd be willing to bet more clubs are going to do that.
I would not doubt that. In it's one of those, even if they don't have to, like the ones that do or even think about that are so far ahead, and they would have such a unique position in the marketplace. Yeah, that would do wonders for the talent pool too. That is so neat. How it's hard doing and putting out things like you do. How do you keep your content fresh and engaging with the readers?
Well, recently we've changed a lot of things up with the magazine. We're adding different features, like we're featuring artists now in the industry or artists involved in the industry. We've got some, we generally do our wine reviews with Fernando Silva at Glen Arbor Golf Club.
Okay.
That was really hard to get off the ground. It took about a couple years, and we had to meet with some wine industry people, because it's very hard to pull off the wine reviews in the private club space, because they don't, the clubs I work with, they don't want to see cake bread or something like that, or yellowtail reviews. Like it has to be like really solid wine brands, and it's doing really well. And that's something we want to develop further. Then we're kind of adding, rather than just focusing on only chefs in golf, I want to open it up to anything between golf and the kitchen.
Okay.
Like we have a product page at the beginning called Amuse Bouche now. So we're getting products from all over the place that want to be featured. Well, it could be cookbooks, it could be new products or food or mushrooms or whatever it might be, which is pretty fun.
Garbanzo beans, the works.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's doing pretty well. I'm really proud of the current issue. Not sure if you had a chance to look at it. It's online, at the digital one's online, so you just need to go to the Golf Kitchen.
I'll check that out, the new one, after we're done. If you can host a Golf Kitchen event at any course in the world, where would you do it?
Well, I've done Golf Kitchen events anywhere in the world. That's really hard to say. We've done Punta Mita, Mexico twice, which was fantastic. We have an event every year at Glen Arbor, which has just been we've postponed the date because it coincides with it's the second day of Passover. So, and there's a Taste of Golf event the next day, so we're moving that event. But if I could do it anywhere in the world, it would be somewhere like Morocco or Dubai or maybe Corsica. There's a great venue there. Then there's Spain, Valderrama. That would be a great venue to do an event. I've been to all those places.
Yeah, and the culinary experience is there too.
There's so many amazing destinations, as you know.
Are there any unique, because you've been doing this for a while and you've experienced the ups and downs and different turns in the markets and governments and all that sort of just like us and clubs and everything else, any fun lessons that you've learned throughout during doing all of through doing Golf Kitchen through the thick and thin?
Only that it's really, really high stress trying to keep up with printers, mailing, distribution. Like there's a lot, and you've got to travel, you've got to go to the properties. And then when you get back, you've got to work with everybody to get the final piece, because I have a rule that you have editorial approval so that everyone's happy and there's not too many errors or typos or anything like that. And it's worked. And now I want to bring the international back because the pandemic kind of squashed that a fair bit. But I'm ready. I'm talking to some properties in Indonesia at the moment.
Ooh.
So I'm hopeful of potentially doing one travel edition a year.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that will be exciting. And I'm just, there's a new kind of top golf concept in Jakarta right now. And I can't remember the name of it, but it's all private. So it's not like, it's all the virtual golf. It's not like they have the nets and everything like Top Golf. But it's like that with a focus on fine dining, and they're all private rooms. So you have your own, you can have a party in there with your mini golf. Not mini golf, is it video golf, virtual golf?
Yep.
And then have fine dining chef comes in and all of that. So I'm thinking of that covering that concept.
Oh, that's definitely fun. How long have they been doing that for?
They only opened in January.
Oh, so
it's
only
brand
a
new.
month. Yeah, a month or two. Yeah, that's definitely a different dimension, different offering.
Because I think Tiger Woods and Justin Timberlake opened one in opposite Grand Central Station, but it's not.
Oh.
And I'm not sure if it's a club. It's only a few months old as well, but I want to check that out because it's probably pretty cool.
What's been your favorite moments with Golf Kitchen so far? Like, what are you very proud of that you in the book have accomplished?
I like to say I have one of the biggest portfolios of culinary history in the private golf club industry internationally. And I understand the hard work and effort everybody all over the world at clubs from Australia to Dubai to Morocco to, all over the place, have privileged me to tell their stories, photograph their food, photograph their culinary teams. And, it's all a big part of the culinary history of golf. I'm a really big fan of like creating that history.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that I want to leave behind, that I will obviously leave behind.
A legacy.
And I'm working on another book series that is a long time. It was like knocked out, had to change the concept during the pandemic because you couldn't travel anymore and chefs were leaving. And I was like, oh, we've got all this work. What do I do? So I came up with a new concept called Golf's Culinary Pioneers. And that's 3 volumes. And I'm working really hard on that project. It's really hard to kind of do the magazine and do the books all at the same simultaneously because it's a ton of work.
And we're probably a little bit more in the creative space than some others, and sometimes it's hard to switch off one project to work on like another. So it's like, so yeah, it's
I do. I find it really, really difficult. Sometimes It's like, do I spend 3 hours doing this and then 3 hours doing that? Or do I break it up? And then you've got all the other stuff you have to do in between.
Yep. And then you get on your creative flow. Next thing you know, you saw that one email that comes in. You're like, oh, I got to take care of it.
Yeah. You know what? One good thing is Chef's Warehouse just came on board as a sponsor.
Very nice.
Yeah. So I'm excited because I'm going to be working with them for the next year, showcasing some of the Chef's Warehouse products and brands. So that's a new thing for Golf Kitchen. I'm really proud of that. bringing Chef's Warehouse on board.
What's the Golf Kitchen Culinary Excellence Awards?
That is in its 5th year. That's the event I just, we had to drop 1 year at 2020, obviously. So we didn't do the awards. We started in 2018. And the idea is to grow that event to make it international. And in 2022, which was a really challenging year for everybody, we moved it to April, but that's the event that I just postponed it, coming up with a new date because it's too close to another event and some of those chefs want to play in the tournament because we have a tournament associated with it now, and I want it to be really big this time. So we're postponing it and we'll just come up with a new date, which will be announced. I'm thinking September, October.
Okay. Do you know where?
Oh, it'll still be at Glen Arbor.
Oh, gotcha. Just moving it.
Yeah, just have to move it. I want that event to develop in a big way, that we have chefs on the golf club, chefs playing golf on the golf course. Club chefs are cooking at the event, and then you have your awards, and grow it and then have it internationally. That's my dream, if I could get a major sponsor. And then we can move it around the country.
Yeah.
Every year we can do it at a new location, and then potentially have international. But you've got to have the big sponsors for that.
Or get really creative.
Yeah, well, I've done that a lot. I've had enough of that.
I'm just thinking about food and getting hungry now. If you had to choose one food dish to represent Golf Kitchen, what food dish would it be?
Oh my goodness, that's a tough question. In the whole time that I've traveled, I have never come across the same recipe from any chef anywhere. That's how much food recipes there are on the planet, ever. Like, I just like all food. So for me to say it signifies one type of food, it does not. It's all encompassing. The portfolio of recipes is insane. You know, we have Vietnam in there, we've got Singapore, we've got China, we've got Indonesia, there's South America, Mexico, Dubai, Spain, France, Corsica. You know, it's very international. So everything's always new and fresh. That's why I really want to get back to international clubs as well, I'm hoping that we can get either Golf Kitchen Travel Edition All Asia. That's what I'm hoping.
Ooh, that would be good.
And then I'm thinking of doing a pastry edition because nobody focuses on the pastry chefs these days. And I thought, why not do a pastry edition, and it's all pastries from clubs all over the place.
I'm trying to think of like my head was going into funny words with pastries and chefs and periodicals. I don't know. My brain was going off. How often are you putting out content for Golf Kitchen?
We're back on a quarterly now. We had a bit of a hiccup with the current edition coming out. It's been a bit late with the printing. That's why I brought the digital version out first, and their print version gets shipped. And hopefully that's not going to happen again. The snow caused a lot of delays because the printer's in Canada. So it's a bit late, but better late than never.
Yeah. And it's I feel like now, excuse me. It's kind of like anything that's unexpected is kind of like, meh, well, all right. Like, to me, like nothing is a surprise anymore. Like, even if you have like a deadline that is early and still like late, so it's like, oh, the shipper's late. Like, oh, it makes sense. Sounds about right. Like nothing surprises me anymore with almost anything.
Well, plus it's the public holidays around anywhere between like Thanksgiving and President's Day. There's either going to be snowstorms, and then there's a public holiday. I'm like, it's a public holiday, and so they're closed. So it's a worst time of year to have anything shipped or printed. But, you know, now that we're up to date and everything, it's fine. It's not like it hasn't happened in the past.
Yeah. Is your family involved at all with Golf Kitchen or in the culinary or golf or club
No, no,
world?
no. My oldest daughter works in technology. She's a CTO recruiter in Manhattan. She has her own business, and then my younger works in the veterinary field.
Oh, we
She's
love our
really
doggies
good.
here.
She's a really good editor, though. She just hates doing it. She's really good at it. Like she'll spot even a dot that shouldn't be on the document. I just wish she loved it.
Yeah. Out of all the chefs that you've gotten to experience and work with, was there anyone that had a particularly good story or story that resonated or inspired you maybe a little bit more?
Uh, there's quite a few. Inspirational, I would say. I don't want to kind of hurt people's feelings, you know.
No.
But there's a chef at Bonnie Briar, in New York,
Mhm.
and he was a veteran, and he came back with post-traumatic stress disorder, and I was fascinated by his story because it was very different from the average, and
Yeah.
he openly discusses his PTSD and how he utilizes that at work, how he does a lot of charity work in the city. He's just joined the fire brigade and he's doing his firefighters. And this guy's works his butt off. He's like a really good chef, top class. His name is Chris Reveron, has a huge following. But
if you can't stand the heat, join the fire brigade. Like not even get out of the kitchen, just go join the fire brigade.
I'm like, wow, this is so cool, you know. He's very, very respected. He's a really kind man. He's very kind to his staff. He gives them all these opportunities to excel. So I would say he would be one of the more inspirational chefs. Then, you know, there's chefs all over the world that, you know, I could talk about for ages. But there's one topic I do want to broach with you, is that right now the golf industry is booming. That doesn't mean it's going to boom forever.
Right.
So with all these members joining clubs right now and there's big waiting lists all over the place, that means we need more culinary talent. And unfortunately, a lot of chefs are going to be retiring soon. And there's not enough talent in a 10 to 20 year period to fill those positions. So somehow the industry has to do something. And I hope they're thinking ahead, because I've spoken to recruiters and they're expecting like 2025 to be really critical. Staff shortage. And you know, I've been seeing this happening for a long time. I've spoken to a lot of chefs that are going to retire, because people call me all the time to say, hey, do you have a chef that wants to work over here? Do you know a chef that wants to work here? Do you know who's moving around? Like, there's a lot of competition, and it's going to get worse, because when remember I said when I first started this, it was really hard to find a club that had decent cuisine in 2010. And a lot of the private clubs didn't want anyone to see what their chef was making, so you just get the door closed. Now it's all different. Now they're spending $20 million on new kitchens all over the country, and they need people that are talented and skilled to run those kitchens. And I don't know how it's going to pan out, because they don't have enough trained chefs of high caliber to replace them or to fill the retiree chef position. Yeah. It's a big problem.
I've had a few guests where, you know, saying almost the same thing, like 24 is going to be an interesting roadway to see how 25 is going to look. You know, each has their own certain thing that they're, you know, involved in or looking at. But yeah, staffing is huge. I know a lot of clubs and just the people I've been talking to and having on, it's, a lot of them are focusing, have and still are heavily on the youth and the children, the kids, the schools, and trying to showcase to them, even high schools and middle schools about private clubs, culinary, school, all of that, that world, and to show that private clubs, whether it's management or any kind of place in it, you don't technically need a formal education to come in and be a part. Like, as long as you're willing to learn, have a good personality, you have good, morals, you're, whatever, whether it's, the chef, food and beverage, anything like, so it's just trying to get people and show like what the private club world is, and opening up, and, a little, I don't want to say a little toot to myself, but, that's sort of my goal, is bringing other people in to show how great the private club industry is. Whether it's, if you like architecture, like, hey, there's architects who focus just on building beautiful clubs. If you like finance and money, there's people who focus just on finance and money for clubs. Hey, if you're in the culinary world, private club world could be, granted, it all still boils down to making sure you find the right club, and the right club that's, running well and has the right staff, which is also key. Because if you have a great chef that you bring in, but, between the GM and the board and some other things, if, everything else isn't in a line, then, it's not going to be a good fit there. But yeah, it's going to be interesting 24, 25.
I think so. One of the things that bothers me is I remember the last recession, and the first thing that went was the club membership. So when you have so many people all over the country joining clubs, what happens when they can't get enough staff because there's just too many people and too many clubs that need really good culinary talent? And then what happens when if something happens, like a recession, like with all these wars going on all over the place, like anything could happen right now, and it's could become unstable again. So it's really hard to predict the future, but I'm not the only one that is thinking this. I've spoken to a lot of chefs who are retiring. They already have a hard time getting talent in the kitchen as it is. So when they're gone, it's like, and there's the Grey Oaks they're on the cover of this current issue in Naples, Florida. When I was down there, they have 40 international staff. 40. They have
40
in the kitchen. Yeah, food and beverage. 40. Because they've got to get staff from somewhere. So everyone has to use these visas, because the US kids don't seem to want to work in the club industry. So it's like, how do you have to get outside of golf, number one, to get more staff. So you've got to try to pick up all the people that wanted to go to work in restaurants and let them know there's these amazing positions in the private club industry, but they don't know, they're not aware. And if they are aware, there's two kind of categories. There's they still think it's, old people playing golf and eating hamburgers, or they're intimidated. There's those two categories. And if you can't get outside the industry, you're not going to be able to pull in those people.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that?
I think the good ones are going to continue to do well. So, forgive me, the club that you mentioned that has their own logo for the, their own branding for the kitchen. I think everyone, will experience something, but I feel as though those clubs, the ones who have their brand established, their identities, they take care of their employees, I think they're going to continue and we'll be fine. I think it's the clubs that either took for granted what the pandemic brought to them, because a lot of clubs, I think, were in not a good place. The pandemic came and saved a lot of clubs, and those clubs, I think, are starting. You can kind of sort of start to see it now as things are starting to level off and things are going back to normal, or however you want to describe what's going on. They're now back to where they were because they didn't take what they had, I don't want to say as serious, but when they should have been putting money into things or doing whatever, they, just, oh, this is great, we're going to be fine. So I think, they didn't take the time to do what they were supposed to enhance their clubs, whether it's, getting their technology up to date, whether it's the course, the interior, the upgrades, whatever it is, staffing, management. I think those ones are going to start, I think it's going to go back to pre-pandemic, right where that sort of like level was. The ones who do it well, who have, a brand, and they, like for example, TCC, the country club, they, their staff is the Squirrel Squad. I think when you have something like that has an identity, that you're not just, you're an employer of choice, you want to be there. I think I think they're going to, they're all going to experience challenges, but I think they're going to be fine. It's the ones that, took for granted, or just are relying on other things. I don't know.
Because they were scrambling. Like, say Aspetak Valley, in the one that I was telling you about,
Mm-hmm.
they already have a big giant farm on their property that they were already doing grocery deliveries before the pandemic even hit. So when the pandemic happened, they already had all that in place because they were already doing it, and then they outdid themselves with their farm.
Yeah.
So I found that really, really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it definitely is going to be interesting, because we can say anything we want, but who knows what can happen to it's bonkers out there right now.
Knows.
I feel like it's right back to the wild, wild west. That's what I called the pandemic. That was fun times. But yeah, so I think the ones are gonna do fine. I think the right people, if they just find the right clubs, I think that's it too. Is there's a lot of people who, I don't want to say people who, but just because you want to work at a club doesn't mean that you might be the right fit for it either. And that's both for members and for staff. Because every club does have, just like any business has its own identity and, their own personality, so to speak. So I think, making sure the right person is at the right club in the right position. I think that's also a thing too, is making sure that the staff vibes well, and, everyone's on that same train also.
I agree. Like right now, there's such a lot of movement. I'm noticing staff are moving around. It's usually the really good, the top clubs, that their staff never leave. They're there forever. Whereas some of the other clubs, they're jumping around. Where do I want to work?
Well, and that has to do with, board changes also. So if you want to get down into like the nitty gritty of it, it's, the most club managers last 2, 3, 4 years, if that, because that's how long the average board tenure is. So, but with that, then if a manager leaves, sometimes they bring a lot of their team with them, or if the team really liked them and the GM's out, and they go to another good club, it's not uncommon for them to bring a staff member, 2, 3, sometimes more. And maybe not all at once, but also like over time. Sometimes it's not always immediate, but like there's ones, where you'll see, this, it might take a year or two, but like the staff slowly will like trickle over, and they will move quite a distance to be with the right club and the right leadership with them. So yeah, I think to sum it up, I would say probably identity. I think the ones who identify themselves as, I don't want good clubs, whatever you want to call that, I think they're going to be okay. But I think the staffing is going to be interesting to watch. And I'll be down at the CMAA conference in 2 weeks, so it'll be interesting to hear and see what the buzz is about that down there also.
Yeah, I think that will be an interesting conference. I'm glad you're going to that. You're going to interview people at the conference, correct?
Oh yeah, content galore. Yeah. Content galore. So what's on the future? What are you excited for with Golf Kitchen as we wrap this up?
I'm excited to continue to expand the publication, to grow our subscription base. I want to get in clubs internationally, like I said, so we can just keep bringing more and more stories in the industry on the culinary side, and be more of an influence to chefs so they can see, what someone's cooking overseas. But I do want to get the program off the ground, the international stage program, which is reciprocal. So a club in Spain would pay for their chef to come over here, whether they were, let's just make up, say it was Kiowa Island or something like that. So they come over to Kiowa Island, and then Kiowa Island sends their team over to their property. And I'd like to kind of find a travel agent to work with, because there will be a lot of insurance involved. So
Oh yeah.
it just would be, it would keep chefs interested. It would keep chefs at the club knowing their membership cares enough to send them over there and to bring reciprocal chefs in. It's happening a little bit, but I think to get younger people involved, you've got to have something to offer. It's all the restaurant chefs did that all their lives. They've all gone to Paul Bocuse and, you know, Alinea or wherever they're going all over the world to do these stages. We need to do this in the private club industry.
Yeah. I like that. That's a good campaign. I like that platform. I like that platform. Diana, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find out more about you and Golf Kitchen?
You can go to golfkitchen.com.
us OGs who had like the good website names back in the day. You meet some people now, it's like, oh, Golf Kitchen 2018. Like, all right, you couldn't get it, but no, you got it. That's good. Golfkitchen.com.
Hey, you know how I got the logo? Do you want to know how I got? You know how I got the domain?
No.
It was 2015, and someone was like a squatter was sitting on it, and they wanted like 10 grand for it. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll just come up with another name, right? So then one day I just sat down. I was finishing my book, and I was at an Airbnb because I needed to get away from everything. And I went, oh, let me have a look and see if this is available. So he had let it go, and I got it for $11.
Hell yeah.
It was $11, and I went, whoa, I got it. And he must have not paid his fees or whatever it was for a period of time. And then it was just there, and I was like, I'm getting this, which is kind of fun.
Please tell me that you emailed him back and asked if you wanted to buy it back for $11,000. No,
I didn't.
Just make a small little markup. I was
really happy. That was one of the happier days. I was like, oh my God, I scored it. I don't have to come up with a new name.
Hope you all enjoyed that episode. If you'd like to learn more about Diana and Golf Kitchen, head on over to golfkitchen.com. Appreciate each and every one of you for listening, making it through the episode. Thank you so much. Thanks to all of our show partners. If you haven't done so yet, sign up for our newsletter. You get all the content and things that we release weekly into one email. We don't get spammy. We ain't about that life. But what we are about is helping each other. And if you enjoyed the content, please make sure you like, share, subscribe. And when we say share it with other people who you think might also enjoy it. Costs nothing and means the world to us and the channel. Until next time, catch you on the flippity flip.